Namaskar. Welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Shriya. Joining me is Colonel Mayank Chaubey, and we're going to talk about how India now has become a global filmmaker. It's got a very compelling presentation to show with the help of slides on why this is true. And a small request to all of you, whether you're watching it on P Gurus or on Rann-Neeti, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Let's welcome the good Colonel. Namaskar, sir. How are you?
Namaskar, Sriji. I am fine. Thank you. Your sound quality has gone down. The
Oh, just
clarity is not there.
1 second. Let me check.
Yeah, this is better. This is better.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right. All
Perfect.
set. Over to you,
Perfect.
sir.
Great. So it's a great Tuesday. The temperatures have gone slightly up in Delhi, and I am enjoying my cold coffee as I speak with Sriji. So,
Yes.
Sriji,
So,
today a lot many things have been observed, and you had rightly pointed out that there's a sort of a oil diplomacy, and what I've titled it's India US relations a well oiled machinery. So there is a lot of oil which is now flowing into the presentation, and we start the presentation India, the new gravity of the global order. And how is India gravitating it to that place? We will just see as we proceed in the slide order. I hope you will enjoy the slide presentation. So sit back and enjoy. And if in case you're having a cup of cold coffee, you're most welcome to sip it. Hmm.
yes,
So
sir.
what I'll do is I'll okay, you do it.
No, no,
Now
no. You
this
can do it, sir. I thought yeah. Go ahead, sir. I just trying to help you with the coffee.
Ji. So this is the picture of the trade which is going on in the entire world. How the crude oil flows. The thickness of the arrows they show the volume of the trade flows. This is pretty confusing. Very good colorful map. But then we'll move on to the next slide. And the next slide is
Oh, sorry. Uh, no, yeah.
yeah. So the next slide आप करेंगे श्री जी आप कर दीजिएगा है
No, no, no. I leave it to you. I leave it to you. You know when to turn.
Okay. So we go on to the next picture, and this is the daily volume of petroleum and other products which move through the maritime oil choke points. Now, let us remember that there are few places in the flow of the traffic that create choke points. The choke points are the Panama Canal. We all know the Danish Straits, not very important. Turkish Straits, not so important. Suez Canal, yes. Bab el Mandab is yes. Strait of Hormuz, of course, very important. And the most important is the Strait of Malacca. Now, if you see the volume, how many million barrels per day of oil is transported through these choke points, this will give you the rough picture. So, in the entire geography, Strait of Malacca holds a lot of importance, and so does Bab el Mandab. Now, if you add Bab el Mandab with Strait of Malacca, you are controlling nearly one third of the flow of wealth in the seas. Now, this is the number of days which is required to transport these things through these choke points. General knowledge sake, but not very important. But when it comes to brass tacks, it's very, very important. Point to note is the 44-day and the 48-day flow, because we are going to shift our focus to Strait of Malacca. Now, what is Strait of Malacca? It links the Indian Ocean with the Pacific Ocean. Now, it becomes the shortest route between the West Asia, that is Middle East oil and natural gas suppliers, and growing markets in East and Southeast Asia. And everybody eyes this place. There are other alternative straits around Strait of Malacca, and we will go to those straits straight away. These two straits, now Indonesia is a combination of a number of islands, and that combination is known as an archipelago. So in that archipelago, we have the Sunda Strait and the Lombok Strait as well, which is as shown on the slide. Now you can take your mind to Andaman Nicobar Islands, is on to the left of the slide. Then you have the Malaysian Peninsula, on the tip of the Malaysian Peninsula is Singapore, and the Malaysian Peninsula and the Indonesian Peninsula is the island of Indonesia is divided by a strait, which is the Strait of Malacca. This is the place from where 23.7% of the energy flows happens. Now there are two alternate routes, that is the Sunda Strait on the south and Lombok Strait onto the southwest, but they are not that frequented. So there is a lot of stress on the Strait of Malacca. Now keep your mind to the position of Strait of Malacca and the Car Nicobar Islands, because the Car Nicobar Islands are just hugging the leftmost tip of Indonesia as we move ahead. Now, what is the importance of Strait of Malacca? It is the primary choke point in Asia. As we had discussed, 23.7 million barrels per day of oil flows. This figure is of 2023. I could not locate a figure much recent, but suffice to say that a lot of oil flow happens. And who is the main beneficiary of that oil? China. So it becomes the largest choke point in the world, and 70% of the total oil flow is crude oil. And crude oil becomes the basis of your energy. Now, why am I speaking of LEMOA? That is the Logistics Exchange Memorandum of Agreement. This happens in the year 2016 between India and the US. This is just a logistics facilitation arrangement. Please don't take your mind back from the seas and the Strait of Malacca, because it is going to link up somewhere here. Now, people were crying hoarse that India has handed over its sovereignty to USA. I'm sorry, that is not the case, because this is not a military alliance. Now, this allows Bharat and the United States to access each other's bases for fuel, berthing, repairs, and supplies. And it's on a case to case basis. It is not that we say, okay, USA, you can have the facility of the Mumbai port. No, it is on a case to case basis. Now, what is the strategic value? Now, the strategic value is that India is able to monetize its geography, because lot of seafarers pass through this way. How does USA gain? USA gains Indian Ocean's depth without treaty entanglement. So it's a win-win situation for both the US and India. Now, by getting into this treaty, what happens is that India becomes the ruler of the Indian Ocean. And once you become the ruler of the Indian Ocean meets the Chinese Sea through the Strait of Malacca. I hope now the jigsaw is falling into place. So, LEMUA gives us strategic autonomy. It does not dilute it. It creates mutual dependence without alignment. So, no CETO, no Centro, no NATO, or no Warsaw Pact, but you are still having an arrangement with one another. And the example of this arrangement was seen in September 2020 when US naval ship Yukon. Now, this is a oil carrier. It's a tanker. So it carries refueling of ships in the high seas. So the Indian naval ship Talwar, it receives energy, that is oil, from a US naval tanker Yukon. This happened under the LEMUA arrangements. You can see the pipe through which the oil will flow into the Indian ship. So this was one example of LEMUA. I hope. Now what happens is, when your ships are being refueled midway, the range of your movement, the fleet, becomes phenomenal. This is how we leverage on each other. So India now shifts from a balancer to an anchor. So we are not balancing between the two power blocks. We are now stabilizing the scenario in the world. And you have made your position indispensable. That is the greatness with which India has moved ahead. Now comes, how has India positioned itself with respect to US and Venezuela? We are not speaking of who has got the oil well. Suddenly, the Middle East is not in picture. You see, the production of oil is not in picture. The transportation and the refining has come into the fore. Now, Venezuelan crude, we know that it is a heavy crude. It is very complex. So only a few countries know how to do it. The countries who know how to do it is India, China, and to an extent USA. India and China can do it in bulk, USA in smaller quantities. So there is a restriction of utilization of heavy fuel. So what we have is we have the conversion capacity also, plus we can have a scale of economy. So we can refine more and we can do it at a lesser cost. So here India positions itself as an indispensable partner to receive Venezuelan oil. So when President Trump says that India will buy Venezuelan oil or the American oil and not Russian oil, remember that we are leveraging on USA now. We are now buying cheaper oil than what we used to get from Russia. And that is how we get into an arrangement. So if in case we are getting an arrangement, that is the logic behind that arrangement. Now, how does it boil down strategically? We are now a processing choke point. Understand that. So the oil is there, but very few know how to refine it. So you gain control over it. You are not just supplying it. So processing power equals geopolitical power. That is the catch line which I thought should catch everybody's eye. Now, we see what happens in January 2026. It's a good timeline to observe. UAE is providing LNG security. So we get into a $3 billion deal with the UAE. LNG floor is secured. This happens on January 19th. On January 27th, we have signed the signing of the mother of all deals, zero tariff, mega access to the markets of Europe and vice versa. India, lots of jobs created, lots of funds flow. Students can now travel to the European Union freely. And then suddenly we have an announcement that on January 30th, USA is going to reduce the traffic tariff to 18%. We are going to be less dependent on Russian oil and we are going to buy Venezuelan oil. So we are pivoting on Venezuelan oil. And then comes January the 30th, some deal with Russia that we will do a rupee ruble trade. So dollar is being bypassed. Now you see in the whole scenario, who is the winner? Of course, individual deals means negotiation. Negotiation means both the parties have gained equally. But there is only one common factor, and that is India, which has gained through all these things. So we just run to the conclusion that India is the operating system of the new order. We were just discussing hardware with 3G, that how come he has such beautiful scenarios in the background and I have to make do with much better scenario with a presentation from 3G, which I place it very dearly just next to me. So this is how I dissected the flow of oil and how our relations are well oiled. Yes, Viji.
That's very true. Well put and nice way to put it. Nice turn of words. Well oiled. Mayakji, the bigger thing here that's now evolving is Qatar is now kind of getting a little bit de-emphasized, at least vis-a-vis India. And Saudi Arabia also is getting de-emphasized vis-a-vis India. And in a not too distant future, Iran oil is going to come back online. And it may again de-emphasize these two countries even furthermore. So, given all these things, India is in a good position. But how does this get leveraged into prosperity for the average Indian?
Okay, it's a very good question. Now, what happens is that Saudi Arabia gets into a military agreement with Pakistan. See, we know how to give a rap on the knuckles. And then suddenly you find that nine Indian sailors, they were not all sailors, one sailor and eight officers, all ex Navy, Indian Navy, and they are put into prison in Qatar. And they are charged with spying for Israel. And Qatar is the sole supplier of natural gas. I say sole supplier because maximum gas comes from Qatar. So when this happens, we start looking for alternate sources. And when we find alternate sources, we have a high level discussion between the two states. And these soldiers are then acquitted and they return back to the country. So we have seen that lot of arm twisting has to be done if in case we have to get into an arrangement with these two countries. So what we do is we quietly invite the head of state from UAE and we sign a deal with him. And what happens is we get a foothold in the Middle East via UAE. And the Gulf Cooperation Council also comes begging. They also want to sign something with us. Now, the issue is how have we benefited as a common man? The oil that we are getting from Russia is at a much lower rate. Now, we are refining this oil and selling it back to the EU. But if in case we are offered Venezuelan oil at a much cheaper rate, we will do the same process there. So, as a country, we become much more prosperous by this mere activity of refining. This is my little understanding of economics. I am not an economic scientist here, but I am trying to put the things together into perspective. How do we tend to gain? So, the oil that we get import, if we import it at a much lesser rate, sorry, we tend to benefit there. Sorry for that disturbance. But I won't be able to quantify how do we or what amount of gain is transferred to the common man. That I won't be able to do, Srija. Unfortunately, uh, I won't be able to answer that question.
Sajid, this question is an important one, especially for the BJP government. I'm going
Mhm.
slightly into politics, mainly because every state you see, for example, Tamil Nadu, people are going crazy. 1,000 rupees from one party per month for women. The other side says we'll give you 2,000 rupees per month. Where's the money for all that stuff? Whereas BJP has essentially got an bonanza because the oil bonds that were issued by the UPA government over the last 10 years, 2004 to 14, have been paid off. So you don't have an extra overhang of expense on your crude imports, as well as now one of the biggest exports is petroleum, refined petroleum. But these are being enjoyed by a small set of companies, not being enjoyed by the entire country. One could make the argument, look, we are not producing crude, we are just processing it. That's just like, why should everybody get the benefit? My
Mhm.
take on this is they need to come up with a white paper that explains some of these things, because India is continuing to give 80 crores of its population free rations. There's a value associated with that. That value is perhaps much more than the 1,000 rupee freebie or the 2,000 rupee freebie that people are enjoying. And that value cuts across all communities and all religions. You can't say that it's only going to one section of the society. It is going to the poorer sections of the society who can't afford it. And how is the money coming for that? It is coming from all these dividends. So somewhere in the government needs to start messaging very effectively in all these different languages. See what happens is bad luck comes for free. For good luck, you have to really work hard.
Hard, yes.
Done the hard work, man. You guys have done the hard work. BJP, you've done the hard work. Getting all these
Publicize
deals
it.
in such a short time is no easy task. So now this is just talk. Put it in nice slick ways. ChatGPT, take ChatGPT's help. Take Google Gemini's help. Take every help you want. Doesn't matter. A few babus can do this thing, do magic, and then let the good speakers to go and talk about this in various states. So my 2 cents, because see, this is something that everybody is going to get benefit off of. Not just the people who are getting free rations, even for the middle class, because India can hold the price line for the petrol, diesel, kerosene, what have you, at the pump. whereas everywhere else it's just keeping on going up. So a lot of things are happening. Something, just do the proper messaging, and I think that's what is the most important thing. We need to feel good sometimes. It's and how we are feeling good is also important. GDP is, yeah, 4 trillion, 4.2 trillion, it all feels good. But per capita is what really helps, because there you see prosperity coming into your own hands. Likewise, everybody needs to be told all these things. I think this is important. Thank you so
What
much, Colonel
what I
Mayank.
gather from you, Sriji, is that what the government has been doing is projecting its image so far as the geopolitical scenario is concerned. How India has emerged as a power, but that power is not percolating to the common man in terms of how much is he getting, how has his food basket been made cheaper. Probably that messaging is not reaching the people, so the government of the day has to put in more effort in that aspect. That is what I presume you wish to
Absolutely.
say.
Modi's guarantee in action. That's it.
Yeah,
4 words.
yeah.
Modi's
Mm,
guarantee in action. And then put this. At the bottom
exactly.
line, 5,000 rupiah per month. Aapko aa raha hai. No questions after that.
That is the reason why I was prompted to write a small paper on the drawbacks of Operation Sindoor so far as the publicity is concerned.
Right,
We
right, right.
won it on ground. We won the thing on ground, but we lost it on paper. That is my thought. So that prompted me to write a paper. Of course, the government should listen to what you are saying, and it's a very logical thing. एक बार काम को करो और उसको फिर थोड़ा सा लोगों को बताओ भी तो क्या किया है आपने, so that the morale of the common man it goes up. You have faith in the system. Otherwise, you start looking elsewhere. Thank
Sirji,
you.
two of the states, if I remember correctly, they did not want to take the free rations. Satkela. Two of the states are going to elections now. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a fundamental right. You have the country, the government is giving you from the center, and the state says we won't allow this to be distributed.
आयुष्मान का भी तो यही
कहाँ
सीन
का
था.
लॉजिक है ये
Mamta
सर?
Didi refused to take on the Ayushman scheme.
Yeah.
So when you're getting
Anyway,
free treatment for 15 lakh, how should you go about it?
सर जी,
Mr.
मैं इसीलिए कह रहा हूँ ना, get into action, IT cell and BJP, get this thing out in Bengali, Tamil, Malayalam, Assamese, and what else? What other? Pondicherry is also Tamil, so it's one shoe fits both those states. Do it, man. I mean, it's easy for you. You just have to get the numbers and show it. Inflation adjusted, it will never be less impressive than. It will be always more impressive than the other states that once in a while they give this thing. So let's hope that something good happens. When something good has been done on the ground level, you need to make sure that people understand what they are getting. Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar.
Thank you, Sriji. Namaskar.